All right, homies. So, we are in the March time. We're in the March like 2024 schedule, right? And we're gonna be talking about like some fighting game discussions. And yeah, so we actually got the registration leaderboard. Like, this is the EVO did this like last year, so this is the early bird registration stats. Again, like last year, it's just a statistic of how many people have registered for said fighting game for one of the biggest fighting game tournament series that annually comes up every summer. Yeah, we could just quickly like dissect them and discuss like why are, you know, the way things are. Obviously the big three, like the shonen three, Street Fighter 6 at 1, Tekken 8 at 2, and Guilty Gear Strive at 3rd, right? So of course, yeah, that makes sense, right? That 100% makes sense. Yeah, because those are like, you know, like the big three, as I said, like the shonen like genre, right? You know, you got your Naruto, you got your Bleach, and you got your One Piece. Those are like your big three that, you know, there will always be like new fighting games, but like they will always be consistently, you know, there for every like tournament there is, and they always pull in a lot of numbers, right? Guilty Gear Strive, of course, it still pulls in numbers. It's still like staying strong, and its legs are still firm. It still hasn't missed leg day, and there's still like a consistent number of players still playing Guilty Gear Strive. And of course, there's more updates to the game. We're gonna have like Arc World Tour in the next like 2 weeks or 1 week from now. And they're going to be teasing on the next character for season 3, so that's going to be pretty good, right? And of course, right, Guilty Gear Strive got that new mechanic, which is the Wild Assault and the Wild Counter, right, mechanic. So definitely elevates the game a little bit, right? So a lot of players are still consistently playing Guilty Gear Strive despite all of like the bads and the cons that come with the game, right? Cappy Chaos is still good. It's a lot. When was the last time I checked like the patch notes for Guilty Gear Strive? I don't know when, but it's been like forever since I played like Strive. Tekken 8, obviously, right? Tekken 8, everybody is playing Tekken 8. Everybody and their mama is playing Tekken 8. And, you know, it definitely shows. Tekken 8 is a cool, a hip new, like, contender in this year's 2024 FGC scene, right? A lot of people are, like, playing Tekken, and, you know, not just, like, casual, not just, like, tryhards or very pro competitive Tekken players, but casuals there. There's been so much like Tekken content and so many like new players coming into Tekken because, you know, Tekken 8 looks cool, right? The roster's fantastic. The customization is, you know, great. A lot of Tekken 8 just really is like a lot about Tekken is really just like popping off right now in a good way, and that's good, right? And then of course we have and of course, we're gonna get more content, right? By that time in Tekken 8, we'll probably have our first character for Tekken 8, and that's Eddie Gordo. So we're gonna be seeing like, you know, some subtle like changes here and there, some different stuff. Right now, there's a lot of like Reinas. We're gonna see like a few like Eddies probably in like top 8. Right? But we haven't seen like a gameplay trailer for Eddie yet. So cross your fingers that, you know, he's not gonna be that much of a like a pickup character, like a law character or something like that, where they're just like, oh, he's automatically good by default. You just press buttons with Paul or Eddie and you just go to like Tekken God Prime. Hopefully that's not like the case. Hopefully he's like very unique, and it's like a very like a high skill barrier sort of thing, you know? Don't want his ass to be like, you know, like Tekken 3 or like, you know, just capoeira shit like tilts people a lot back in the day, and it still does, right? And of course, like subtle like balance patches. There are now like a lot more, well, not a lot more, but I think we got like a soft like patch, like toning down some characters like Devil Gene, because Devil Gene is like really popping off. But there's like a lot of like Dragonoffs, some Reynas, right? So there's a lot of like content, there's a lot of like, you know, things in Tekken that can be like changed up, I'm expecting, by the time like EVO rolls around. Yeah, but of course we have like Street Fighter 6, right? Street Fighter 6, yeah, historically EVO has always been like Capcom supported and sponsored by the company, by that company. So of course they're gonna put like Street Fighter 6 as their closeout period game for every like EVO, which is funny because, you know, when we were talking about Guilty Gear Strive, right? Once Guilty Gear Strive came on board and EVO saw like the number of players playing Guilty Gear Strive was your closer of EVO every like year that it's on. But now that Street Fighter 6 came on board, it's like, you know, welcome back, King, here's your crown, you know? Which of course, you know, Street Fighter 6, like Guilty Gear Strive, still going strong. Game still plays great. We got like their latest character for the game, Ed, but of course there are like problems in the game that needs to be like addressed, right? And I think we got like a patch notes about that game, more specifically for Luke, right? Luke was just running rampant in EVO, right? Oh, not in EVO. Luke's were running rampant everywhere in like Capcom Pro Tour. Luke's, there's also like, well, a majority of players were using Luke as their either their main character or their pocket character, right? Which of course, like, Luke is a good character, but it's just so many, and there's not a lot of like breadth of diversity for a lot of like the characters in Street Fighter 6, right? We saw like one Zangief, right? And that was Snake Eyes, and he made it pretty far. He didn't make it into the top 16, but he still got pretty consistently there for being a Zangief main. However, you know, it doesn't fare well with bad matchup Zangief is up against, with like, you know, the juries or the Kens or the DJs, right? So Zangief is gonna like lose some matches, and the winners that will come out on top are the ones that have like really good like drive rush combos, you know, good like far-reaching like normals that seem to hit like out of nowhere, you know? Like, Luke is just like everywhere. And of course we're gonna have like our very like last character for Street Fighter 6, Akuma, which, you know, Akuma hasn't like shown up yet, which is very surprising. We're in like springtime, so we should be hearing some things about the evil bitch from hell, right? And that's going to be where like a lot of people will come back to like Street Fighter, right? Because everybody's favorite character is Akuma. It's just like, historically that's with like Street Fighter, it's just an eviler version of, well, I mean, there's evil Ryu and then there's Oni from Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, but Street Fighter 6 is still like standing strong. There's still a lot of like hype moments that comes from Street Fighter, so definitely is up there in like in the top number 1. But this is like the top 3. What are like the last like 5? What are like the others? Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. Oh yeah, it's like 4th. Okay, I thought like Street Fighter Third Strike would be 4th, but I'm surprised that it's like 5th place though. Still getting like more content, right, to this day. It definitely brought back a lot of hardcore Grand Blue Fantasy versus Vets, right, to the back to the table. Of course, with like the improvements of online, it still plays like the same game, but now we have rollback netcode. We have even more mechanics that somewhat resemble like Street Fighter 6 with like they don't have, I don't think they have a drive impact, but they have like a drive rush like mechanic in Grand Blue. So definitely elevated the game more than what it was when it came out in like 2018, right? So yeah, man, like a lot of shit got like upgraded in Fantasy versus Rising. And of course we're gonna get more characters, right? Fucking 2B. I mean, yeah, like 2B made it into the game as the only like guest character for that game, and from what I've heard, the Grand Blue Fantasy versus devs mentioned that we are not planning any more characters, any more guest characters, other than 2B. So the rest are going to be just like Grand Blue exclusive characters. But 2B, I mean, anything with like 2B is like on, that's gonna sell like the game like hotcakes, right? Like Soul Calibur, any like gacha game that 2B is like in. I know she's like in a few. Grand Blue, right? Grand Blue is like in there. I wouldn't be surprised if like 2B is in KOF All Stars, that one like KOF fighting game. But yeah, like it makes sense. Definitely brought back Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising people, and brought in more people because, you know, the combat has been elevated and the rollback netcode is sick for Grand Blue. That's like what at least I hear. If it has microtransactions and caters for Eastern markets, her cheeks will be there. 2B just fucking sells, right? The character herself, right? The fact that you can like self-destruct, and the devs like notice that you can like see her panties and her big ass. Sells fucking units, man. Third Strike, I'm surprised this is 5th place. The last game we had was like Marvel 3, and Marvel 3 was in like primetime Sunday, but we saw like what the really creme de la creme, the best of the best of like Marvel really is, and it was just a Zero May Cry mirror match. So I think this is going to be like on Saturday. I would be very surprised if it's on like Sunday, cause when it comes to like old school like fighting games, not like modern ones like a Street Fight, like a la like a Street Fighter, a Tekken, or a Guilty Gear Strive, old school fighting games have the commonality of like, once the game is like out and is like launched, there's no way to like update it. You can mod it, sure, like Marvel 3, there's technically like a update pack that technically rebalances it, but it's not official support, and if official support is not updating the game, then the game is going to stay like a broken like mess, for lack of a better term. They can support it, but they are bums. Right? They are bums. For Marvel 3, for example, right? Y'all were so like fucking happy that Marvel 3 is back, but guys, you gotta understand that like this is a fucking 2012 fucking game with no like inkling of Capcom like updates of any kind. And so what came down to like the top tiers? Dr. Doom, Virgil, more Virgil, a second Virgil, a third Virgil, Dante, Morrigan, right? Out of like the woodwork because of Chris G like Soul Fist blocked the screen. These games are going to be played in their prime fashion. And what was prime Street Fighter 3 Third Strike relegated down to like Chun-Li and Yun. Makoto is also there as well. But just definitely like the high tiers of the game. And of course, right, there's gonna be nothing but like parries, right? We have like parries in Street Fighter 6 Third Strike, but this is like Street Fighter 6, but Third Strike is the precursor to the parry like mechanic. The reason why Street Fighter Third Strike is there is because 2024 is the 20-year anniversary of EVO Moment 37. Daigo multi-pairing Justin Wong's Chun-Li kicks and taking gold and defining a moment for FGC history, right? So Third Strike definitely, right, is there for that like reason, but surprising that it's like 5th, which of course also, right, the hardware for Street Fighter Third Strike. Street Fighter Third Strike is an old game, and the only viable way to play Third Strike on modern like day is if you play it on like, let's say, PS3 with the HD Online Edition. But I don't know how they're gonna work, because that's like old school tech, like old school arcade boards, right? So it would be hella interesting to see how they're gonna like tackle that, because it's an old game. They're not gonna use like emulation, right? Like Fightcade or Null DC Bear or anything like that. No, they're gonna use like the actual hardware that like Street Fighter Third Strike is like on. So I'm hella curious on how that's like going to work. Under Night Embers, I mean, Under Night Embers got like, I forget that it got like a new update, right? I forget that shit is like, you know, a thing. I definitely wanted to like try Under Night when it got like announced and actually was like released. But unfortunately, Under Night came out, I think like a few days before Tekken 8. So pretty much did well, pretty much did under sales expectations. So makes sense of like why it's like 6, but it still is like a good game. There's still like more characters like to be added in Under Night. Hella like surprising that it is so. Mortal Kombat, oof, wow. Mortal Kombat on 7th, oh my god. Bruh. I'm surprised it isn't like Saturday, so they're pretty much saving Mortal Kombat on like in Friday, like opening night. Mortal Kombat, right, definitely like a fun game, but it definitely has a lot of problems, especially with their microtransactions, right? We were talking about Grand Blue Fantasy Versus with like microtransactions with like 2B and like how 2B sells. Mortal Kombat is microtransactions but done way worse, right? Like you have to buy fatalities, you have to buy costumes, a lot of like WB, like, you know, pay real life currency to get some of like the good shit, especially if you're like an Invasions fan. I don't know how you're an Invasions fan. Full price games should not have battle passes or microtransactions. Yeah, a season pass, that's it, right? The best like negotiation deal is a season pass. That's it. There shouldn't be like a battle pass, like you have to play more to get like some smoot, right? And Mortal Kombat definitely like egregious for that, right? You have to, it isn't like MKX. It isn't like MKX, right? Where you do like a secret like input and you unlock the brutality right away. No, ever since like MK11, you have to like grind, do like crypt or do like invasions, level up your character, and then you get like the brutality or like your favorite like skin. And it's just, playing like Mortal Kombat just to like get to those like rewards can be hella frustrating, and also a very much grind set because of the little EXP it's like worse for Mortal Kombat. Those are alternatives to monetization that free-to-play games use. Yeah, that's very true. Rumbleverse, multiverses, right? Those are like examples of fighting games that use like the battle pass like system, but unfortunately it didn't go well for them. I heard that Rumbleverses is teasing of like it's not Rumbleverse, Multiverse is a teasing for a comeback, right? If anybody saw like their Twitter page, like like 3, 2, 1 testing or something like that, they are teasing that they're coming back. Still like technically limping or like living, right? We're getting still like updates for characters and cameos, right? The DLC characters definitely like elevate the Mortal Kombat experience. Chameleon, and I haven't even tried Janet Cage, but from what I've heard, they're pretty saucy and elevate like the game like a little bit for Mortal Kombat 1, but we have yet to see the full like extent of Mortal Kombat 1. Definitely proud that it's like, even though with all of its like, you know, hurdles and bumps that it still like has, and all of like the technical bugs that it has, it still has a place in EVO. It still has a place in EVO. It's still like played, and it's just, you know, like the gameplay is like good, right? It feels like good to be a Mortal Kombat fan. I mean, not gonna lie, right? It definitely felt that way at the first waves of MK1. It definitely felt good to be a Mortal Kombat fan, just like the things that like you can do until you find like the busted shit. And the last thing, which is like very unfortunate, King of Fighters 15. Oh my god, that's kind of sad like for me, because you know the Khaiza is like a big advocate for SNK and King of Fighters, but I'm sad, but I also understand why. Gotta get South America to fly to EVO. Yo, deadass, man. We gotta get South America to fly to EVO. The last like update that we got for KOF 15 was like the new advancing strike mechanic for KOF 15. And we still haven't heard word of SNK for, let's say, like a season 3. I hope they get something announced at EVO Japan, which is like next month. But yeah, I can understand why it's like so low. The game, you know, is still like the top tier, still like running around. Cronin is still good. Rock is still good. Like the game is still like being played like without like any updates whatsoever. Without any like major updates whatsoever. There's no like legacy like updates like how we did for like fighters and all that jazz, you know? So it is unfortunate to see that KOF is at the bottom of the leaderboards. I still play KOF from like time to time, and I still think it's like a great game. But if there's like a drastic like drop of like players from, let's say, like the spawn of King of Fighters 15 when it like launched, I can definitely like understand. It is unfortunate, right? And also with King of Fighters 15, right, came with like matchmaking issues, right? Game is still kind of like buggy when you go above like 5 rollback frames. KOF is a very high execution based game, and it's an old school fighting game, so there's not a lot of like casual like pulls for KOF, right? It's a very traditional 2D like team-based fighting game, so there's not a lot of like pull for casual fans or new fans going into KOF unless you're like a fighting game fan, right? KOF doesn't have like a robust single player tutorial segment like Tekken or Street Fighter, nor does it have a compelling cinematic story mode like Tekken 8, right? And it's not also like technically not as graphically creative and visually pretty as Guilty Gear Strive, so, or Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. So it is like unfortunate, you know. But these are the EVO leaderboard stats, you know. Unfortunately, so this is like the unfortunate part for KOF 15. Hopefully when Garo like gets like more info, there'll be like a resurgence of KOF, because that game looks hella pretty as well. So hopefully, let's see, right? A Mortal Kombat 1, you know, definitely there. Under Night, may have like a passive like interest on it. Gonna be curious to check out Third Strike, Granblue Fantasy Versus, Guilty Gear Strive, of course, like I have to, like it's like a job. Let's see how like the game has changed up. Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6, right? So these are like your 8 games, and most probably, right? Most likely these three or these 4 will be primetime Sunday. Third Strike and Under Night In-Birth will be Saturday, and Mortal Kombat and KOF will be opening night. You know? So that's how it is. And we're gonna also be doing some EVO bets again, like last year. So we're gonna make some predictions on what will be announced after like each game, right? Or like a surprise game or anything like that. But we'll save that for another time.